Baseball fans, you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight, 11:35 p.m. I know it's late. You could be anywhere. Thank you for being here. I also want to thank CeeLo for giving us the lead-in. Really do appreciate that. Does a great show throughout the year. Just about every game covered there. And live streaming during every game and giving you everything you need to know. We want to come here post-game and just kind of recap this series, recap, of course, the entire season as it is now for the Braves. Unfortunate, the Braves do fall in Game 2, 5-4 to the Padres, but they also fell in Game 1, 4-0, which doesn't, of course, mean that the Braves season has come to an end. And I will say that even though there's plenty of disappointment, rightfully so, it was nice to have a game tonight. It was nice to be competitive offensively and, give the Padres a challenge and feel like we belong. And I think tonight was definitely more along those lines than, of course, it was in Game 1 where we were shut out. However, the Braves still lose, and that stings. I know it stings. I know there's those of you out there that don't want to hear me say anything good right now. I understand that completely. However, I would say this. To anybody out there that is frustrated with how this game went or frustrated with this year, you have every right to be. But don't think that the players, the organization, the coaches, and especially the manager are not just as frustrated as all of us. The injuries have taken their toll. If you had told me at the start of the season that we would be down Acuña, Riley, Strider, and Sale, just those four, forget all of the other major injuries through the year, I would not have told you that we would have made the playoffs. I would have thought that had been impossible. And the fact that we were able to go get guys like Whit Merrifield, Gio Urshela, Ramon Laureano, all of these guys to come in and find their spot and be a factor on this team to ultimately make it to the playoffs. I've said multiple times this year that, if the Braves make the playoffs, Brian Snitker should get Manager of the Year, and everybody should be just as happy with a World Series. This has been a challenging year. It has been a tumultuous year. And I know the mentality every postseason is World Series or bust. And I hear that. I hear that completely. But remember what it felt like when the Braves made the playoffs back in 2018. Remember that feeling. Remember what it felt like when Ronald Acuña Jr. hit the grand slam to beat the Dodgers in just one game of the NLDS. The excitement in Atlanta was unreal. That's more along the lines of where this team was, not by choice, but by force due to injuries. That's more along the lines of what this team was. That team that was just on the cusp of making it. And it doesn't feel like they should be. We have the stars. We have Michael Harris. We have Marcell Ozuna. We have Matt Olson. We had Max Fried on the bump tonight. But all of that said, when you're missing half of your lineup to injuries, when you're missing just so much out of your team, the components of your team that make your lineup work the way it did back in 23, you got to expect a drop-off. And we certainly saw it this year. But the fact that the team was able to rally itself, change the dynamics of the team, change the way the offense worked, and make it to the playoffs in the final game of the year should be commended. And I would also say that the fact that the bullpen showed what it could do tonight. Think about this. The starters, A.J. Smith-Shawver and Max Fried, they only covered 2 1/3 innings over this series. That's it, over the 2 days. We'll call it 2 innings even. They gave up 8 earned runs, all right? And we can pick on them about it. We can say, well, oh, man, they were just terrible. I don't view it that way. A.J. Smith-Shawver, honest to God, probably should have never been in that spot, at least not at this point. I think he's got a bright future ahead. He was unfortunately called at a time where he hasn't seen Major League pitching, I want to say, in about 4 months prior, or Major League hitting, in about 4 months prior to his appearance, and he got shelled. He tipped his pitches. Francisco Lindor. I made the same mistake Eduardo Perez did earlier, but Fernando Tatis Jr. took full advantage, and he was removed from the game. Max Fried gets out of the first inning, first batter of the second inning. I think the first batter just hits him in the butt with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and he wasn't himself after that. I even tweeted at that time That are we going to see Maximus Fried, the guy that we saw in Game 6 and 21 when he got his ankle stepped on? Are we going to see that guy? And unfortunately, it was just too much to overcome for Fried tonight. I genuinely hope that is not Max Fried's final appearance in a Braves uniform. I genuinely hope that that is the case. If it is, I'm not going to view it through that lens. I'm going to view it through the lens of, man, what a career he had in Atlanta, a World Series, 6 division champs. All in all, Max Fried has had a wonderful career. He was not the guy necessarily when he came up as a prospect. I think our eyes were more along the likes of Soroka. And then Max Fried took it upon himself to be that guy and be the guy that we could depend on, and he's really turned himself into a leader. So if that is it for Fried in Atlanta, we'll take it. I hate that it ended the way it did. I hope it doesn't affect his free agency stock. I hope that he finds his way back to Atlanta, but I've also seen others leave before. I'm not going to be surprised if Fried does. That said, I genuinely hope that's not the case. I genuinely hope that Max Fried finds his way back in Atlanta because, for the Braves right now, it's the offseason. So we got to start talking about those kinds of things. And we're going to talk about them a little bit tonight coming up in the next block. But for right now, this series does not define this team in 2024. The challenges and the triumph at the end, making it to the playoffs when everything else was working against you, that's what's going to reflect on this team. And I hate that it has gone the way it has. Nobody expected it to go this way. And the other thing I would say, and I know most of you know this, but the other thing I would say is this is not Brian Snitker's fault. This is not Alex Anthopoulos' fault. This is not any of the players' fault. This is life happens. That's what this is. Injuries happen. Things happen. And I'll tell you this. I was in the postgame celebration where they spray all the champagne the other night, where they made it to the playoffs. And number one, very proud to have been there. First time that's ever happened in my career. Hope I get many more down the line. That all said, the pride in that room for making it to the playoffs. Nobody wanted that on opening day. Nobody wanted that in spring training. Nobody wanted that 4 months ago, halfway through the season. But it's the hand that the Braves were dealt. And the fact is, Brian Snitker has seen that team battle through everything, battle through so much adversity. Every player I talked to, and I asked about how confident are you in your chances going into San Diego, and how proud of you are of this team. They went right to that. They went right to that talking point of, look, after all the adversity that we faced, we are proud to make it to the playoffs. We are so proud. And they viewed themselves as dangerous. I believe they were. Until Chris Sale went down. When that happened, I was worried. I was worried that if they would make it, because of course he was supposed to pitch game 162. And then I was even more worried about the playoffs, because we were going to have to figure it out without Grant Holmes. We were going to have to figure it out, with guys that we haven't used in a long time. A.J. Smith-Shawver, Bryce Elder was on the roster. Ian Anderson was on the roster. I think we would have likely seen them make an appearance tomorrow, but that's not the case. So now it's a new postseason. First time the Braves haven't been at least in a division series in quite some time. And it doesn't feel right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I feel good about it. But what I do feel good about is our chances next year. I mentioned, the fact that injuries have piled up. And that's true. There's no doubt about how the injuries have piled up. And I've seen questions of where are we going to upgrade next year? Where are we going to get better in 2025? And that's a legit question, because you're possibly losing Max Fried. You're possibly losing Charlie Morton. And you look around and you ask yourself, where are we going to improve? I think if we're going to sign anybody, it's going to be a starting pitcher, because both of those guys are hitting free agency. I think in all likelihood, Charlie Morton will probably hit retirement. If he doesn't, I think the Braves will sign him. But I think in all likelihood, that was probably it for Charlie Morton, which is a little upsetting. For Max Fried, jury's still out, and the jury really is still out on Charlie. That's just my feel right now. That said, that's 2 starting pitchers that you got to replace one way or another, either by bringing them back or by going elsewhere in the free agent market or a trade market and figuring out what's going to happen. But in terms of what else needs to be improved, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and I think it solves itself too, because I look at Ronald Acuña will be back next year. Austin Riley will be back next year. Spencer Strider will be back next year. And that gives me so much confidence because I just saw what this bullpen did over the past couple of days and down the stretch of the season. I'm confident that if most of those guys are back, the bullpen's going to be fine, right? I'm confident that if Riley, Acuña are back, your position players, that's going to solve itself. In fact, I think you're going to have too many of them when it gets to there because you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with the Jared Kelnicks of the world and the Gio Urshela, Whit Merrifield conversation. Who do you want to bring back? Somebody asked me that last night. I'm along the lines of Whit Merrifield, and it's pretty simple. It's just because he's more versatile. You can plug him in the infield. You can plug him in the outfield, and you can pretty much use him wherever. As long as he's playing every day, he's going to hit well. And if he doesn't play every day, he's a great utility guy. Similar to Charlie Culberson in that regard, but he's probably even better. And we all love Charlie Culberson here at On Deck, but Whit Merrifield is really that guy, and he's been that guy for a long time. And I really do think he's a super utility guy. He can give guys days off. Of course, with Acuña coming back, who knows how he's going to be. How he's going to be able to, how much he's going to be able to play the field, that kind of thing. And I think Whit Merrifield would be a perfect guy to just plug and play where the Braves see fit. That said, there's a lot to look forward to. And in terms of players in this series that stood out, I don't think anybody stood out more than Michael Harris. Michael Harris, who was hurt for a large chunk of this season, comes out. He was 1 for 27 in the postseason prior to this year. He was 5 for 8 in these 2 games with a homer, a big-time homer that put the Braves within reach to make it 5-4. Of course, that was the final score. Michael Harris is a young guy, but he is a leader on this team. He has taken a next step in leadership on this team. And I say that as a guy who has seen it on television. I see it as a guy who was in the locker room multiple times. I believe he is a guy that is going to develop and really be a staple here in Atlanta. There's a reason they gave him a long-term contract. It's because of the on-field makeup for sure, but it's also the makeup within. He is a great leader, and I think he's a great presence in the clubhouse. You have that to look forward to. The fact that Spencer Schwellenbach was able to pitch the way he did this year is amazing, number one. I got the chance to interview him for the first time the other night following the Braves clinching the playoffs. What a great kid, number one. And just you could tell he was just taking it all in. A lot's been thrown his way. We unfortunately didn't get to see him pitch in the playoffs. He didn't even make the playoff roster because he wouldn't be able to pitch. But he has been so good for the Braves this year. Better than some of our veterans and more consistent than some of our veterans because he's been there every day. If that guy is a part of the rotation next year, which all indications are he will be, that gives me a lot of confidence. Reynaldo Lopez, who was a reliever before this season, and we talked about it in spring training as kind of just this throwaway. Sure, he'll get an opportunity to be in the rotation, but it was kind of an afterthought. I was sitting here telling you that Bryce Elder was going to be your 5th starter because he's been with us. We know him, and it just makes the most sense. All of a sudden, Reynaldo Lopez says, not so fast, pulls a Lee Corso on us, and he was phenomenal this year. All-star, out of nowhere, and it's a shame that all of that happened. Chris Sale, likely Cy Young Award winner, got the Triple Crown. That happened. Spencer Schwellenbach's great year. Reynaldo Lopez's great year. Marcell Ozuna tearing the cover off the ball. All of that happened, but also on the flip side of it, Acuña gets hurt. Strider gets hurt. Murphy gets hurt on opening day. Harris is out for a large part of the season. Albies is out. Can only hit right-handed in the playoffs. Riley's out. As much good as you had, you probably had double bad news, right? And it just put such a damper on this season, a season that had all the potential in the world. We've gone back a couple of times and looked at the opening day roster. And when you look at that roster and you look at it full strength, there's no question that the Phillies would have had a challenge in the NL East had the Braves been fully healthy. I think the Braves would have won the NL East had they been fully healthy. But unfortunately, that's not how baseball works. It's designed to break your heart. I read that quote earlier, and it's couldn't be truer. It is designed to break your heart, but it's also designed to give you something to fight back for. And the Braves, they're going to come in next year and they're going to have one thing on their mind, and it's of course going to be a World Series. With all of what they've fought against, if nothing else, they are going to be absolutely battle tested for next year. I fundamentally believe that. When we get back, we're going to talk about Max Fried in depth, just that situation, and just talk about where he may go from here, what the situation is, because we are in the off season now. It feels a little too early to be in the off season, but we are, and it is what it is. Don't go anywhere, though. We really would like you to hang around. We're going to get to your comments as well, so if you have a comment, put it in. And if you could, help us grow the channel. Like the video. We got a lot of you in here tonight for good reason. It's the end of the season. We would really appreciate it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves during this offseason.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC offers popular full-size trucks with a legacy of strength and durability. Side by side, the new Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or big, heavy-duty Chevy and GMC 2500s, discounted up to $8,000 off. Rugged durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect truck today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
So, welcome back. Thank you for being here tonight. Of course, bad news tonight. Never love to hear that the Braves season is over. That's always just a bad feeling. But we are where we are. We have to talk about where the future is going to be. I mentioned earlier that I've been getting the question a lot about where are the Braves going to improve this offseason. That's always a question. Again, rarely is it this early that we know that Atlanta is going to have to improve because we have so many guys locked in. Acuña's been on a long-term deal. Strider on a long-term deal. Albies on a long-term deal. Riley, Harris, so many of these guys on a long-term deal. The one guy that wasn't on a long-term deal was, of course, Max Fried. And we have to talk about it because we don't know what exactly is going to happen. What is Alex Anthopoulos going to do come this offseason? And that's a fair question, because right now there are a lot of holes that we as fans can see from way out, looking far away. We can see these things are going to happen, right? Your starting pitching is going to get possibly weaker. You got one guy coming back, and that's Chris Sale. He's coming back. Ronaldo Lopez is going to come back. But other than that, you have questions. Strider, we don't know. Sorry about that. Strider, we don't know for sure will be back. We don't know when that's going to be. Right now, you got Chris Sale, you got Ronaldo Lopez, and you got Spencer Schwellenbach. That's a great three-guy team right there. That fourth and fifth spot, there's a big question mark. Is Fried going to be back? Is Charlie Morton going to be back? I fundamentally believe that Charlie Morton will most likely retire. And it's not really to do with his performance. It's not really to do with anything he's told me. I just have that feeling where he has nothing left to prove. There is not a stat that he's looking to find and looking to attain. I believe that if he was to come back for anything, it would be for one more chance at a World Series, which I think on the Braves next year he will certainly have a chance to do. But I think the Braves would probably want to do it for a lesser salary. I don't know if Morton's going to want to do that. He's currently making $20 million. I don't know if Atlanta would do that. They may offer him $10 million And that could be a conversation. I don't know. It may be that Morton decides to, hang around for one more year and just have one more shot in Atlanta for a World Series. Again, we don't know any of that. It's too early to know any of that. If he is to retire, I would expect an announcement probably in the next month. But we really don't know. If he is to retire, what a career. Multiple World Series titles. He won one on a broken leg, striking out Jose Altuve that we all remember very fondly. But that said, that's one. That's one that he's at least hitting free agency. So again, if you're looking at spots, you got 5 of them, 3 of them filled. Question marks in 2, both hitting free agency for different reasons, different circumstances. For Morton, may be retiring, may just be going to another team. We don't know. Either way, you got to make a deal with him. For Max Fried, his market's going to be really high this year. I am under the impression, and I've said this before, this doesn't come to any kind of surprise, but I am under the impression that Max Fried will not return in 2025. That is how I'm viewing it right now. Now, that said, the Braves do have a few options within the organization, and we know them fairly well. There is Hurston Waldrop down there, Dylan Dodd, Darius Vines. You know those names. Alan Winans, Ian Anderson, who is on this roster, Bryce Elder. There are options for starting pitchers within the Braves organization. However, with a guy like Fried that you have to replace, I would be surprised if the Braves would wager that on guys who, all due respect, are not proven. Ian Anderson has done it before, but it's been since 2022. We're going to be coming up on 2025 since he's pitched in a major league game. I think he could be a part of the rotation, but again, that's a bit of a wager. Bryce Elder, he's been good, he's been terrible. There is no in between. So you have that playing. Darius Vines never really has been able to get to the Major League Baseball and stay successful, and Alan Winans kind of in that same boat. So there's a lot there that you look at and you're like, oh, I don't know. The one guy down there that I'm like, yeah, that guy could be the next Spencer Schwellenbach is Hurston Waldrop. I do think that. So that could be one. It may be that he needs a little while. A.J. Smith-Shawver is another one. I believe not because of what we saw this past week, but from what we have seen throughout his entire Major League stint. What he did back in May was really good against the Cubs. He threw 4 2/3. I thought that Snit was going to make that choice. I was right. Was it the right one? I don't know. We don't know what would have happened if Bryce Elder went on the mound. We don't know what would have happened if Ian Anderson went on that mound. But I don't think that is indicative. Same as Max Fried. I don't think one game is indicative of who these guys are and who they will be. I think A.J. Smith-Shawver has a very bright future. I've talked to him multiple times. He's got great stuff. And the same, I think, could be said for Ian Anderson. I think we all know who Ian Anderson is. We all know what he did back in 21. Problem is, he's been hurt for a long time, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And again, I think you have to explore the free agent market. If you can find someone for a deal, you got to do it. And I expect it to be a veteran. I don't expect it to be a young guy to lock up long term. I'd be surprised. In terms of who are free agents next year, there's a few out there that you're going to laugh at. I believe Scherzer and Verlander are free agents. I don't believe the Braves would ever do that. I'd be very, very surprised. Not unless they signed $1 million deals or something. I would just be very surprised. Those guys are probably on the verge of retirement as much as anybody. But there's a lot of guys out there that could be of interest. Problem is they're all going to want big money. There's no doubt about that. Garrett Cole has an opt-out. He'll more likely take it. Patrick Corbin is a free agent, but we don't want to touch him. Robbie Ray has an opt-out. I don't know. Lucas Giolito, Nathan Eovaldi, Michael Wacha has a player option. Corbin Burns is a free agent. Of course, Fried is a free agent. Jack Flaherty, Kyle Hendricks, Shane Bieber, Luis Severino, Jose Quintana, Yusei Kikuchi. There's a lot of guys that are out there. Former Atlanta Brave, Alex Wood. Current Dodger, Walker Buehler, is also a free agent. Knowing the Dodgers, they may want to re-sign him. I don't know. Michael Soroka is a free agent. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw him back. That all said, there's options out there, free agents. There's always options in the trade market. That's how we landed Chris Sale. I think the Braves are definitely going to be active. And I'm curious to see throughout this offseason what they do, because they got two spots really to fill. They could either fill them by, again, bringing those guys back with Morton and Fried, or they can fill them by simply going to the trade market, the free agency market, and handling it that way. There's a lot of different ways this cookie could crumble. Alex Anthopoulos is known for doing crazy deals and doing some under-the-radar things. I don't think we'll expect whatever it is. And to be honest with you, I'm currently not expecting Max Fried to resign. So if that happens, great, wonderful. I'm glad he's back, because then you'd have a rotation with, of course, Chris Sale, Schwellenbach, Fried, and Lopez. You'd have that locked up. And you'd also have Strider, which, again, the reason he's not in that list right now, the reason you have two spots to fill, is because we don't know when he's going to come back, and we don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. The guy's vicious, but we don't know when that's going to be, and we don't know what he's going to look like or how long the recovery and the get back right time frame is going to take. If he's back in spring training and he gets a spring training, stint, then it may not be that long. But if it's April, May, June, then I start to worry, okay, we got a lot of time to cover here. And we do have options with Bryce Elder and Ian Anderson and Shawver and Vines, but look at how important starting pitching was these past two games. That's your priority every year. The Braves are built on starting pitching. They've always have been. And I think that's really going to be the priority this offseason. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. I know, obviously, a rough night for the Braves. You didn't have to be here. You could have just went to bed, put the covers over yourself, and put on some sad music. You decided to come out and shake it off and move forward. But I believe that that's kind of where we are now, is the move over phase. Yeah, this year, for all of what it was, there was a lot that it wasn't. And it sucked. No way around it. It sucked. But it's over. We move forward. I am looking forward to watching the playoffs unbiased and just taking in winter meetings and seeing what crazy deals teams are going to make. I'm just looking forward for all of that. And, of course, it's also football season, so we'll all be busy with that. But as a baseball fan and a true-to-heart baseball fan, this sucks. No way around it. But, again, I want to emphasize, that guy right there did everything in his power. Brian Snicker, the coaching staff, they did everything in their power to make this possible, to make the playoffs possible, and to give this team a shot. They should be commended. And to me, and this goes without saying, you guys should be proud of this team. And I know there's a lot of you that aren't, but you should be proud of this team. That said, guys, again, thank you for being here tonight. We are going to come back. We're going to go through every last comment tonight. I got nowhere else to be. Long as y'all take the trip with us, we're going to answer all your questions. But we're going to run some ads real quick. We're going to pay some bills. So stay with us. And remember, Super Chats do get you priority. They get you moved to the front of the line. So if you could, please do that. Helps the channel grow. Really would appreciate that. And if you have not already, one more time, there's 100 of you watching, 20 likes so far. Get that like count up for me. Really would appreciate that. And again, thank you all for being here. And again, go Braves. We'll be back right after the break.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC offers popular full-size trucks with a legacy of strength and durability. Side by side, the new Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or big, heavy-duty Chevy and GMC 2500s, discounted up to $8,000 off. Rugged durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect truck today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. Again, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. What a season. What a season. As Scooter Puff puts it, says, how she goes. All I know is that there isn't a chance that our luck can possibly be any worse in 2025. Let's get healthy and get back after it next year. I don't see how any team's luck could be worse than what the Braves have dealt with this year. And that's never fun. I mean, look at the Cubs over that stretch. Look at the Red Sox when they were so unlucky every year. That's different, though. It's different. This team, I hate to say it, never had a chance. I mean, every time that momentum spiked, somebody's hurt. We end the season with a win. Chris Sale can't pitch, not one game in this series. You can't tell me that if Chris Sale would have pitched game 1, we would have at least had a fighting shot. Or game 2, and at least have been ready for game 3. That just would have felt better to me for some reason. And it just felt like this team could never get over that hump. And again, that sucks. No way around it. But like you said, you move on to 2025. It certainly can't get any worse than what we've been at this year. And what a treacherous ride. I've been following it the whole way. I was at spring training for the final week. And, all of the hype was there. Acuña coming out of his 2024 season, MVP season. We got Chris Sale, the rotation's at full strength. You just felt good. And all of a sudden, opening day, Sean Murphy's hurt. A week later, Spencer Strider's hurt. A few weeks go by, Acuña's hurt. Just like that, the whole scope of this season's changed. And you move later in the year, Michael Harris is hurt. Later in the year, Austin Riley's hurt. Ozzie Albies is hurt. And it just never, even when guys came back, it just never clicked. And we were hoping for some magic, no doubt, in this playoff season. We knew we were the underdog. And that's kind of why, typically I think fan bases are a little bit more over-dramatic. And I don't mean that in any insulting way, but you know what I mean when I say that. Like, you believe your team should be the best team in baseball or is the best team in baseball, and they lose a series like this, you're going to be ready to, knock somebody out, yelling and screaming in the comment section. I don't think Braves fans are like that right now. I think we were more along the lines of glass half full, and if they were able to win this series, wonderful. If they're not, I'm just happy we made the playoffs. And there's nothing wrong with being that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with being that way. You have your fan bases that demand excellence, but you also have to be realistic. And like somebody said in the chat not too long ago, I don't think anybody that would have been able to do what they did, or to lose what they did this year and do what they did this year, I don't think anybody would have been able to do it. Go to the Phillies. Go ahead and give me Aaron Nola. Give me Bryce Harper. And give me about 4 or 5 of their main cast of characters. Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber. Just that. Tell me how they do. I don't think they win the division, and and that's just one team. I think across the board it goes that way. The fact that the Braves made the playoffs is a testament to the coaching staff, testament to the team, and I will die on that hill. I don't have a problem defending that. Vision says, we'll stay on as long as I can. Got to get up early and teach some little ones. I didn't know you were a teacher, Vision, but happy that you're here. Yeah, you're going to have to console a lot of those little Braves fans up at the school. Thank you, CeeLo. Appreciate the lead in tonight. Miguel, oh, here we go. I like you. I love you, Miguel Freaka. Miguel says, adding Olsen and Murphy didn't help either. Arcia, you see Alex Anthopoulos bring players in, high on base percentage. Injuries are not excuses. I don't think it's an excuse, but I definitely think it's a reasonable reason. And Miguel, I love you. I do. Olsen and Murphy have been really good. Olsen hit 54 homers. Murphy, I think, only played in 70 games this year, so it's hard for me to judge that. Arcia was an all-star last year, and Alex Anthopoulos has been voted best GM in baseball, I think, twice now. So I'm going to ride with what we got and hope for a better year next year. Reese Hole says, we weren't supposed to make it. Proud of the boys, as you should be. Alfonso Rodriguez, when the Astros lose, America wins. Well, if I got my buddy watching right now, he's not going to like that. I work with a guy who's actually from Houston, and he texted me today after the Astros lost, and he said, hey, is it all right if I join the Braves bandwagon? And I said, we'll be happy to take you on board for however long this thing lasts. And it lasted all of about 8 hours. So Rex Castillo is off the bandwagon officially. Scooter Puff says, I will say, though, I think I'm ready to move on from Arcia at shortstop next year, pursue either Adames or Kim in the offseason. We've talked about Willy Adames. I just don't see the Braves spending that kind of money there. And to be honest with you, Arcia, and I've explained this multiple times, I don't mind doing it again, though. Arcia, to me, thrives when he's surrounded by good hitters. And in 23, what made him successful is he had an MVP batting behind him there in the leadoff spot, him at 9. And prior to him, likely guys were on base. All due respect to Gio Urshela and Whit Merrifield and Ramon Laureano. Those guys have been great this year for us in different ways and various situations. That said, they're not the normal cast of characters that we have. They're just not. And when the pressure is taken off the pitcher and he's pitching to a guy like Orlando Arcia, and the guy behind him, all due respect to Michael Harris, is not Ronald Acuña, that just changes the dynamic. You don't have to pitch to that guy anymore, right? Because the last thing you want to do is load the bases for Acuña or put on another runner for Acuña. You get my point. So I think before we criticize him, we have to kind of look at the dynamic. He hadn't had a good year, but neither has the team. The team itself has not had a good year. Olsen, his numbers are down. Riley's numbers were down. Murphy's numbers are down. Granted, he's been hurt. Harris's numbers down. He's been hurt too. Albies has been hurt. All these guys have been hurt, and the top of your order is weak. It's the strongest of the bunch, but it's still weaker than what it was last year. The bottom of your order, virtually non-existent in this playoff series. So that said, if the pressure's off, then what is the pitcher to do other than dance around Arcia, which leads to a lot of strikeouts, leads to a lot of him swinging at pitches that he otherwise shouldn't. And, that's the difference in an all-star season and a mediocre season when it comes to Orlando Arcia. But that said, that's the difference in 54 homers versus 29 homers for Olsen. And the pressure means something. And a guy that provides a lot of pressure, I hate to say it, is Ronald Acuña Jr. That is the guy who made that lineup function the way it did. Because that's the thing. Lineups function. They're a flow chart is the best way I can put it. One causes another, right? Acuña gets on base. The guy that's hitting second, whether it be Albies, whether it be Riley, whether it be Olsen, whoever it may be, that guy is going to get fastballs because of who's on base, right? Acuña's going to steal. You got to get best chance to get him out at second. He may steal third. All of a sudden, the pressure's on. The hairs on the back of your neck are sticking up. That causes that. All of a sudden, you get a couple of walks. Bases are now loaded for guess who? Marcell Ozuna or Austin Riley. You get my point. Bottom of the order kind of works the same way because when that lineup rolls over, you're going to have to deal with that all over again. Arcia benefited from that in 2023, unable to benefit from it this year, of course, at least to a large degree. And I'm not going to make excuses when it comes to that because they really weren't playing well when Acuña was here either. I just believe personally that they would have at some point. I don't think it would have lasted all 162 like it did had Acuña stayed healthy. And if you disagree with it, that's fine. That's just how I feel. I felt like at some point we would click. And, I did multiple videos saying this is not going to last. This is not going to last. And every time I said it, almost, it was like, oh, here's another one. It's like chopping down a tree, And it's unfortunate, but we were bleeding from pretty much everywhere. We had injuries even in the bullpen. Tyler Matzik was hurt. Starting pitching, of course, Spencer Strider was hurt. It's a tough year, but in terms of Arcia, I don't mind if we pursue somebody else. I think Adames is going to really want more money than what he's making. He's going to want more money than I think what the Braves are going to want to pay. And the thing is, the Braves are going to automatically get so much better just with returning starters that I don't know that they have to improve there. And if you don't have to pay somebody money, why would you, right? Adames, great player. Arcia, even if he's not hitting, his glove is great. And I really think that's what's going to keep him here. I don't think he's going anywhere. If he does, I wouldn't be overly surprised, to be honest with you. I just don't see the Braves and Alex Anthopoulos spending more money than they have to. And that guy has been really good. He's been a staple at short. And his defense is incredible. And beyond that, I just think he's going to improve. Naturally, he's going to improve, as will the rest of the lineup, once Acuña is back, once Riley is back. And we're back to, I hate to say it, but frankly, normal. because wouldn't that be a great feeling just to be back in a 2023 style lineup? Alfonso Rodriguez says free to Dodgers confirmed. He very well may go out west. I could see him going to the Dodgers. I could see him going to the Padres. I could see him just taking the highest bidder. I could see him staying in Atlanta. There's a lot of ways this could go. He has every right to do whatever he wants. He has not made any bones about it. He has not said, how do I put this politely? I love Freddie Freeman, but he has not gone publicly and said, I want to stay here, so he is well within his right to do whatever he wants and nobody to be mad about it. Even if he goes to our arch rival over there in LA, I wouldn't even be mad about it. The only one I'd be mad about would probably be Philadelphia. That would be like, are you kidding me? You have no ties to that place, and that's literally our biggest rival. I don't see that happening unless they just offer him a Shohei contract or something. I just don't see that. But I definitely think there is a 60-40 shot that he's going somewhere else. That's my take. I would hope that he's not, but being a realist, understanding the market, understanding where the Braves have been in every single free agent market that they've had, they didn't try to get Freddie. They tried to get Freddie, but not beyond where they wanted to go. They didn't really make a big fight on Dansby, right? He went to Chicago, and that was kind of it. I think Fried might be the same way, and the reason they're going to do that is, well, why would we pay you this amount of money when we got Schwellenbach and we got Strider coming back, and we want to pay you $20 million a year. They want to pay you $50 million a year. We're not going to do that, right? That's such a big gap. It's not even worth talking about. I don't know what he's going to demand, but I got a feeling it's going to be a lot. And these days, guys, teams aren't really paying pitchers. Not like they used to be. And I think a good reason for that, if you need one, pitchers are so vulnerable to injury, and rightfully so, right? They're throwing 102 miles an hour now. But Justin Verlander is making $43 million a year, right? He's been hurt for like 2 years. Max Scherzer, same thing, pretty much the same exact deal. Garrett Cole has been hurt for a long time. Patrick Corbin is making $23 million a year. Ridiculous deal, by the way. And he's been just terrible lately. And when you look at like the top 10 starters, I want to say like the top or 7 out of the top 10 or something like that are hurt. So it's a tough market. And I was a little weary of the Spencer Strider deal, especially after he got hurt. I'm coming around to it because it's really not that bad, but even so. Nate Land says, Padres fan here. Sorry, guys. We love and admire your team and your organist. Yeah, Matthew Kaminsky does a great job. I appreciate that. I actually know Matt. That was appreciate that comment. Yeah, look, I'm not mad at the Padres. Not at all. In fact, I want you guys to beat the Dodgers at least, and I'm gonna tell you why. And this is just sour apples for me, but past 2 years now, the Wildcard team has beat us, and it's been unfortunately the same one in Philadelphia. I hope whoever wins between the Mets and Brewers, I hope whoever wins that beats the Phillies. I hope whoever wins the other 2 wild cards, if they haven't already, I haven't even looked today, I've been so focused on this game. But whoever has won that or is going to win that, I hope that they beat the division, because I have said yearly that it is in my opinion, it is a weakness to take a week off or take that long of a time off prior to playing in the division series if you are the team that got the bye. I just think it's too long. I think the Wildcard Series should be a doubleheader, followed by, if you have to play the next day, and I would play a day game, and I'd get on a plane, and I'd go wherever that is. This waiting a week, I find it ridiculous that baseball is doing it. I disagree with it wholeheartedly, and I think the Braves do too. I think any team that has been on the other end of it, 3 out of 4 teams last year got taken out by the wild card team. And I get that happens sometimes. I get it. And it's not to say that the wild card team shouldn't have a chance, but it's also, it shouldn't be that our offense, and I'm just going to say it, 2023 Braves were on fire all year long up to the end of the season, and then gone. Nothing. They had nothing to offer. And you can't tell me that's not because of a week off. I hope that the Mets or the Brewers beat Philadelphia, because that would just make me happy, to be honest with you. I hope whoever does it on the other side does it too, just to prove to Major League Baseball this is a legit problem, and they need to do something about it. Will it happen? I doubt it. We all know Rob Manfred, but at least in my own psychopathic mind, I would like to see it. But Nate Land, yeah, no hard feelings on the Padres winning. To be honest, I think we were all kind of expecting it. I was hoping it'd at least go to 3 games, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. We'll go down to Jorge Ortiz. Dodgers better not choke again. They might. The Padres look pretty good, and they got some good pitchers going, so they might. Vision Music Works with the Super Chat. Appreciate that. She says, I want wildcard teams to win for the same reason. If it happens again, do you think Major League Baseball would make a change? Well, you asked it, and you put it in a Super Chat, which means I'm going to answer it. Do I think they would make a change? If all 4 of the teams from the Wildcard Series that advance beat the team that has a bye in the Division Series, do I think Major League Baseball would make a change? I absolutely don't, and I'm going to tell you why. It's bigger than just Rob Manfred, because as much of a problem as he is, it's bigger than him. Major League Baseball wants this system to work, okay? And it's not just Rob Manfred, it's the owners. Why do they want it to work? Well, it's more money. That's why they expanded the playoffs in the first place. It's more money. It's more TV revenue. It's more attendance at ball games. It's more concessions. All of that. It's just flat out more money. And making games double headers would be less money, because you would either charge one ticket price or you'd get a split attendance between 1 or 2 games, possibly depending where it is. Your TV wouldn't be as good, because think about what times we've been watching these Braves games lately, right? 8:30, 8 p.m., prime time. And we've had some wild card games at 4 o'clock noon. I get all that. But you'd have to start every wild card series at noon, and it'd be a doubleheader, and they'd be on at the same time. The one thing about the Wild Card Series is, on TV, and this is by design, it's strategic. They want you to watch every game, at least some of every game. That's why they schedule it the way they do. And if you're not watching it, they at least want you to be keeping up with it, or maybe having it on your phone at work when you're not supposed to, that kind of thing. They want the ratings. And when you make it a doubleheader, everybody across baseball can't tune in at the same time. That's the thing about the playoffs. That's what makes the Division Series and especially the Championship Series and World Series. Everybody that's a baseball fan is likely watching those, or at least the large majority are watching those, which means all 30 teams are watching one product. And that's good for advertisers, because you can say, hey, we got 80 million views or however many million views on the World Series this year. You should pay us X amount of dollars to do it next year. Right? That's why they're doing it. So do I think they'll make a change? Absolutely not. They're all about the dollar. And you can't blame them. But from a ground level, from a team level, the guys that are going out there, I'm sorry. I don't agree with it. And I don't think the players, if they're honest, and if they can look past how they have benefited from it in years past, I think the players know it too. So, Vision, I hope that was a long, drawn-out answer. I hope that answered it. Thank you for the Super Chat. Remember, Super Chats do get you priority, and they get you moved to the front of the line. So if you got money to spend, I promise you we will answer your question. We will go in depth. Vision, thank you. Get some sleep, and good luck consoling those kids tomorrow. I feel for you on that one. I might need somebody myself. Tango Fett says the hitting is not Snit's fault, but his lack of enthusiasm and holding guys accountable is. He also makes some very questionable bullpen decisions. All right, let's talk about it. I knew somebody was going to talk about it. I'm good with it. I'm here. I have been a Snit defender, Tango. This is not directed at you. This is just kind of out there. Everybody knows that you kind of be talking about Snit. I'm pretty much going to go, yeah, no, I don't agree with that. My buddy Palmer, who I love and adore, is a staunch Snit just hater. He hates him for whatever reason. He probably would have hated Bobby Cox too, though, if that gives you any indication. The Braves could win the World Series. The next day, he's going to find some reason that Snit needs to be fired. So all that said, I don't believe this year can be circled around Snit. The bullpen decisions, yes, some of them are questionable. Some of them I don't agree with. To be honest with you, I've talked about it before. I don't know if I would have done that. But that said, I'm not in that chair, and he's got more information at his disposal than I do. He knows who's feeling good today. He knows who's really available, who's not. He knows numbers and analytics that I have no comprehension of, all of that stuff. All I know is there's a left-hander coming up or whatever the case may be. Snit has also had to deal with a wide variety of injuries this year, and he can only do with what he has been given. And this year, he was given a lot on opening day, but a lot of it got taken away from him shortly thereafter. I don't think this is the year to judge Snit off of. In fact, I would say that if the Manager of the Year award did what it's supposed to, Snit would be a viable candidate for it. Unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, it's driven more along the lines of who got the most wins and who gave the lineup that won the most games. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a lot to do with who made the right decision at the right time. And I think Snit navigating what he did this year, I think Alex Anthopoulos deserves Executive of the Year. A lot of you guys would disagree with that. But I believe so, because what he did at the deadline probably says there was a lot of deals that he could have done that he shouldn't do because it was looking to this year and not beyond. And, maybe Spencer Schwellenbach was a trade piece in one of those deals, and that was the deciding factor. And look how good he was. Look how good he might be in the future. So we've heard those stories before, so that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't buy into the idea that Snit is somehow to blame. I just can't buy into that. And I understand, like, you can criticize him. You can say, well, I don't like that decision, but unless you have a speed dial ability to talk to him every day and ask him why he did it, we'll never really know. In large part, I think he's good for the clubhouse. I think he's good for the atmosphere. I think he does a good job managing. The players love him, and really that's all that matters to me. And they don't love him because he's nice. They love him because they respect him. And he is a player's manager. He has walked in their shoes, and he knows he knows what it takes to do it. And the other thing about it is Snit only has another year on his contract. I'd be surprised if he were to re-sign for very much longer, if at all. I think he might retire after next year. That's looking way, way far ahead, but I'm just saying, some of you are going to get your wish one day. Snit's not going to be around anymore. And at that point, I think a lot of you, and I'm not talking about you specifically, but a lot of these guys out there that are on the Fire Snit campaign, they're going to look around and they're going to either have to find somebody else to blame, or they're going to realize, man, that guy was really good at his job. And you don't stay in baseball as long as Brian Snitker has been in baseball if you're not good at your job. That's my take on it. So, with that said, we are going to go to a quick break. I got to get a sip of water and pay some bills. I want to thank you for being here. Please do like the video. A lot of you guys hanging around. It's late. You're still here. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back right after the break.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC offers popular full-size trucks with a legacy of strength and durability. Side by side, the new Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or big, heavy-duty Chevy and GMC 2500s, discounted up to $8,000 off. Rugged durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect truck today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back. I'm looking at the chat, and our good friend Richard Davis sends us a message. I wonder what it says. That's a Blues Clues reference if you didn't pick up. He says, Double A screwed the team for next year by trading for Soler and Jackson. All right, well, I need some more information because I'm looking at the Soler trade. That's another reason I went to break. I'm hearing you, but I want to say that I don't think they gave up the farm here. They gave up Tyler Matzik, who was, of course, hurt all year long. Sabin Caballos is a third-round pick for the Braves in the 2023 draft. He could turn into something, I guess, but it's not like they traded 5 or 6 prospects for Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson. They traded very minimally, in my opinion. And they of course have Soler going into next year, which with the questions around Acuña, that could be of use. I've explored the idea maybe there's a trade to be in store, right? Because think about this. Jorge Soler is signed, I want to say, through the next 2 seasons, I believe. I'll have to look up the details of his contract. But I want to say he's signed for another 2 years. If that's the case, or at least I know he's at least signed for 1, you got to figure out what you're going to do with him, because you can't put him at DH. And once Acuña comes back, you have Harris in center, you have Acuña in right, more than likely. And then you have, an empty spot. It could be Kelnick. It could be whoever you want it to be. It could be Soler, possibly. But you got to figure out what you're going to do with him. So, yeah, he's signed through 2026. So he's signed through this next year, and then he'll also play in the 2026 season. He's earning about $26 million in that stretch. So here's the deal. I've explored the idea, well, you got Ozuna at DH. There's a few things you could do. And this is just me spitballing. And I've talked to a few people about this that cover the Braves as well. You could pick up Ozuna's option, which is a team option, not a player option, which means it's completely up to the Braves if they want to do it, which they have no reason not to, and here's why. Let's say they pick it up. They could play him and not be a problem. They could trade him. But if you pick it up, you could immediately trade him, and all of a sudden Soler is your DH. Now, after the year that Ozuna has had, I don't foresee that happening, but it is an option. You could also trade Soler. Soler is a guy that at the deadline, if somebody needs a bat, you could trade him, and maybe you land a high leverage reliever. Maybe you do a couple of things. Maybe you trade him in the offseason and you get a starting pitcher. Like maybe he's a part of that deal to land a Sonny Gray or whatever the case may be. You have some resources there, is my point. I think there's a lot of things that could happen there. But I think that saying that we're somehow screwed for next year because we picked up Soler and Luke Jackson, which Luke Jackson, I'd be surprised if his deal goes beyond this year, to be honest with you. I don't believe it does. Yeah, he's on a 1-year, $500,000 contract. We're only paying Soler $13 million a year, which that's really a drop in the bucket compared to most contracts. I can deal with that. Has he been as good as I hoped he would be? No, but I was hoping he'd be Babe Ruth. So relative to that, he's been just fine. I don't think we're screwed. I'd want to know why you think that, Richard. No problem with the comment. Just would like to know kind of why you're thinking that. It may be a while before I get back to you, but let me know. Let's see. I'm going to skip down a little bit and go ahead and see the crowded booth. Says, real question. I know Arcia has soured our fans, but the market isn't very deep there, so where do you actually go for shortstop outside of Arcia? And that's kind of my point. It's you have Adames out there and Kim's out there, which I haven't really explored that in depth, but I have looked at Adames. I did a whole video on it for those of you that may want to see it. But that said, you have Arcia, who's a great defender, which, guys, if this was 1976, Arcia would be the perfect shortstop. He's a good defender, mediocre bat, but can get on base and drive in runs and that kind of thing. He'd be the perfect shortstop. In today's day and age, you have shortstops that are superstars. Cal Ripken Jr. was the first, and here we are in the modern age. It feels like everybody's got to be that. Shortstop is a position that is defense first, kind of like catching. Catching, yeah, you want your catcher to be a good hitter, but they got to be able to catch and deal with pitching staffs and be able to the ability to throw out runners and that kind of thing. It's always been a defensive first position. Shortstop is kind of that way. Every other position, you want a power bat there. Maybe center field being the one and only other exception. But even Andrew Jones had a good bat, right? So that said, Arcia, it's kind of a throwback, right? Yeah, he may not be, Cal Ripken Jr., but that's a Hall of Famer. And when he's surrounded by other guys on this team that are all-star caliber every year, like Ozuna and Olsen and Riley and Albies, and you're coming out of Dansby, yeah, you might feel like, we could do a little better than this, and we probably could. But the market, just like Crowded Booth and Bryce Coon said here, the market is not very open next year. It may be better the following year, but Adames is going to demand quite a bit. And to be honest with you, his numbers aren't that much better than RC is. The home runs are there, but the Braves hit home runs. We don't need somebody who hits home runs. We need somebody who does have good defense. Not saying Adames doesn't, but I'm not paying Adames $26 million a year or $30 million a year, which as of right now, those are the projections, when I'm paying RC a 3 and I'm getting back Acuña, I'm getting back Riley, I'm getting back Strider, I'm getting a fully healthy Ozzy Albies. I can't see a world where that makes sense. I've heard it, I've seen it, and I think as fans, we like to theorize that, ooh, what can we do, right? But I just don't see that being reality. And you know, for those of you that want Adames, I get it. He's a great player. But I also understand the reality is, if we're going to improve anywhere, I really see it being starting pitching, because the Braves have to get ready for Max Fried not being back. They have to be prepared for that. If you want to improve elsewhere, maybe you improve in the bullpen. You know, as good as our pen was these past couple of days, it can always be better. You got to re-sign AJ Minter. You got to, who knows what happens with Jesse Chavez? You know, you got to think about that. He's up there at 40 years old. So you're going to have some spots there. Maybe you attack that. I don't think shortstop is the one where I'm going, yeah, I want this to be better. If you're looking at just the lineup, sure, but I just don't see that. That's just my take, and you know, I might be wrong. Maybe they get Adames, and this is a moot point. But you know, that's where I'm at on it. Let me see. Vision Music Works, before she got out of here, says, I cannot wait to see our starters all healthy next year. Raylo was a nice surprise. Schwelly, our shortstop pitcher, was amazing. Yeah, and I mean that's what's so sour about this season is, we had so much that did turn out right. You saw the vision, right? Again, you go look at the opening day roster. You can see what Alex Anthopoulos in the front office were putting together. Like, you can see it. Just imagine a world where you had a rotation that consisted of Sale, Fried, Strider, Morton, Schwellenbach, Ronaldo Lopez, and so on. Just imagine. You would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could legitimately have a 6-man rotation. And you'd have plenty of depth in the minors. Imagine a world where Tyler Matzik doesn't get hurt. You'd have a better bullpen just like that. Imagine a world where, of course, Acuña doesn't get hurt. Riley doesn't get hurt. Not like substantial time. Like, everybody's going to miss a couple days. But imagine that world. And then all of a sudden, Lopez is great. Ozuna's killing the ball. This team would have been great. And unfortunately, it just didn't add up. And, you know, a lot of people want to blame and point fingers. I am not that guy. That's not what I like to do. Yeah, Grant Holmes is another one. I see Might Be Genius here talking about Grant Holmes. Grant Holmes is another one. What he did the other night, I mean, that kind of thing is rare. I mean, we've seen it before. AJ Minter did it. Bryce Wilson did it back in 2020. We've seen it before, but that guy got 30 minutes notice to go out there and pitch a game that decided whether or not his team made it to the playoffs. He threw 4 scoreless innings. You can't ask for anything more than that. He literally said, I had time to go to the bathroom, and that was it. I had to get out there and do it. So, you know, I mean, the makeup was there. The World Series caliber team was there. Unfortunately, it was snatched away due to injuries. And that's really where the conversation ends, in my eyes. I don't think it goes to, all right, so who should get fired, right? And I've said before, this is not college football where you lose 7 games and your job is on the line. Or in some cases, you lose 2 or 3 games and your job is on the line. I don't view it that way. Baseball does not work that way. Managerial positions don't work the same as coaches. And I feel like we get into that mindset, and it just isn't fair because, again, managers, what makes great managers is great players. And when half your great players are sitting the bench, it's tough to be a great manager, at least in the public's eye. You may still be a great manager. You may be making every right decision possible. And I believe that Snit more than likely is, to the best of his ability. The other thing I would tell you is Snit is not making the decisions alone. Snit is getting at least some conference of himself, Alex Anthopoulos, the analytics team, the stats team, the other coaches on the staff, the players. It all goes hand in hand. A lot of people want to point at Snit because he is the figurehead. Make no mistake, everything goes through him. But it's not solely due to him, right? It's not solely him. It's not him. How do I put it? With a college coach or an NFL coach, that kind of thing, everything kind of runs through the coach, right? Every mentality, the way the offense works, defense works, all Snit really controls is the lineup. And there's nothing really wrong with the lineup when everybody's healthy. So that's kind of my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Joe Reese says, do you think AA will sign Mike Soroka for next year? I think he might get a spring training invite. I don't know if he'd be signed per se unless he just had a really good spring training, and it may be like a minor league deal type of deal. I don't know if he had the numbers to really justify, and it's Michael now apparently, but I don't know if he had the numbers to really justify getting signed. Granted, he was on the worst team in baseball. He had a 4.74 ERA. God, that's tough to look at. 0-10 on the year. I don't think that's indicative of who he is, but he was 0-10 on the year. Let's see his FIP real quick. I'm hoping it's a lot better than his ERA because that would give me some indication. Yeah, his FIP was 4.95, so his ERA is kind of true. I don't know. The guy had all the potential in the world with the Braves. They gave him every chance. I don't see why they wouldn't give him another one, but I think it would start with a spring training invite and go from there. And look, if there's anybody that would like Soroka to be successful, it's me. I mean, I have been on that train for a long time. This is video from his first rehab stint back from the Achilles tear in Rome. That tells you how long I've been on this. I had front row seats to this. I wanted to see what he looked like, and he looked great. I think he picked up like 10 strikeouts or something. But this is single A, by the way. That said, it just has not really found itself at the major league level, which is unfortunate. The guy was second rookie of the year voting. Like, he was really, 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 really good. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes in baseball. And, I would hope that maybe the Braves do give him a chance. As a Michael Soroka fan, there's not a better guy. I've interviewed him a few times. Super nice, super friendly, and knows that the Braves gave him every chance possible. I don't even think he's angry. He knows, and I asked him the spring training, not this year, but last year, I asked him, spring training of 2023, I asked him about, hey, the fact that this team keeps giving you every shot possible to stay here, what does that mean to you? Because, look, they've given me 2 or 3 years to kind of figure this injury out and figure out where I need to go. I couldn't ask for anything more. So I think the Braves made the right call when they did. It's not like he would have given the Braves a ton of help this year. Maybe next year is his coming out party. I don't know. But again, I think if anything, it starts with a spring training. It starts with a spring training outing. And again, look, I mean, he was on the White Sox this year. I didn't watch any White Sox games. Why would I? They were putrid. But, maybe, just maybe, they'll do it. Jeffrey Humphreys says, hello, Tyler. Hopefully our pitching will be as solid next year as it was this year. If so, we can probably expect a better overall season next year. Yeah, I think so. I think our pitching was really good this year, like you said. I think our offense was definitely the part of the team that kind of crumbled. But how could you not, I guess. We'll see. Richard Davis says, they have got to give these young pitchers a chance, but I bet they sign a vet if Fried and Morton leave. The Braves like the 1-2 year deals for $25 a year. Yeah, because they can escape them pretty easily. If it's not a fit, they're not out of pocket too much. And you do kind of want a veteran if you lose 2 veterans. You know what I mean? You want somebody that's going to come in and have that veteran presence, because I hate to say it, the Braves are not that young and upcoming team anymore. That's kind of like, I guess the Brewers would be the equivalent of that. Maybe the Royals, the Tigers. I don't think the Braves are that team anymore. I think they're more akin to the Dodgers, which just stings to say, by the way. But I think they're more akin to that in the sense of they are kind of a veteran team. They do have an older crew now. Ozzie Albies has been playing for 8 years. I mean, they're not young anymore. I mean, they are, but they're not either. They're established players now. And I think you want, as much as you want young ability like Spencer Schwellenbach, you also want guys that a guy like Spencer Schwellenbach can go talk to about his outing today. I remember Max Fried crediting Cole Hamels, which is a name that I never thought I'd say again on this channel, but I just did. But he credited Cole Hamels, and Cole Hamels didn't do anything for the Braves. But what he did do was he gave Fried some advice during that COVID season and helped him turn a corner in some ways. So I think you do, if you're going to lose two guys like Morton and Fried, I definitely think you want to bring in a guy maybe like a Sonny Gray, maybe just a guy who's been around the block and knows Major League Baseball. That said, you do kind of already have it with Chris Sale. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways it can go, but that's just my opinion. Guys, do me a favor, though. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here and on deck, and, of course, throughout the Major League Baseball playoffs. Even though the Braves are out, we're still going to be following along to some degree. We also do interviews, which I wanted to share this with you guys. Of course, baseball is mourning the loss of Pete Rose, and rightfully so. Pete Rose, hit king, controversial figure, but a legend in the game nonetheless. I did an interview yesterday after getting news the day prior of Pete's passing. I'm going to tell you the story of finding out. I was actually leaving the champagne party with the Braves. I was walking out of the clubhouse through the tunnel, which is directly, just so you know, it's directly underneath the concourse that fans walk through on the bottom level of Truist Park. So I'm in the tunnel beneath, and I'm leaving the clubhouse. I'm covered in champagne. I got just wet in the back of my head. My shirt's soaked. I smell like death because I smell like cigars. And I guess it was a family member of a player. I didn't even get his name, but he just hollers at me and goes, Sir, can you tell me if this is true? They're saying Pete Rose died. And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was fake because I saw, and I'm sure many of you have seen similar stories like this, I've seen links to different players dying that was not true. I mean, fake hoaxes like this happen all the time. But I literally saw one of Pete Rose about 2 weeks before this. That Pete Rose has died and this or that. And I literally saw a link to that 2 weeks prior. So I told the guy, I was like, buddy, I think it's a scam. I don't think it happened. But I'd like to see why you think that. And he pulled it up, and there it was. It was Yahoo Sports, and I can't really argue with that. That's how I found out. So pretty much immediately, I have a lot of connections with former Reds, mainly through Daryl Cheney, who we've spoken to many times on this channel. You guys should be pretty familiar with him. I think his short clip talking about Bob Gibson's the highest viewed video on the channel still. It should be. It's a great story. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But I immediately texted him to really confirm it, and he confirmed it. And then I said, well, would you mind talking about this tomorrow? So literally the day after, his former teammate, the guy who he won the 1975 World Series championship with the grade 8, the whole 9 yards, the Big Red Machine, he got on here, was polite enough to do that. Daryl's a big supporter of the channel. A good friend of mine, too, has done a lot for me. He is a good reason as to why I got to interview a lot of who I've gotten to interview. He sat down and we just remembered Pete. We talked about the controversy, of course, but beyond that, we talked about the man. He told a lot of good stories. If you haven't already, I would really suggest just going to give that a watch. I'd really appreciate it. Another thing on the channel real quick before we get back into the comments, the post-game celebration that I just talked about, all of those interviews, I interviewed probably 12 players right after. And again, I'm covered in champagne. I still smell like it. It was a fun experience. I've done a lot of cool things. I've been to the Masters a few times. I've been to national championships. I've been to March Madness. I don't think anything tops that. I mean, I've been to playoff wins. I don't think it tops that. That was a proud moment for me. So it would be a favor to me. I would really appreciate you going to watch that video. All of those interviews are currently on the channel. Matt Mock says injuries, regression, and missed opportunities was the theme of 2024. I would just scratch out most of that and say it was injuries. Injuries and just just not being lucky, I guess is the way to put it. Might Be Genius says, honestly, I've never seen a player with so many apologists and excuse marker as Arcia. Keep in mind he was not part of the ship in 21. Why is there so much loyalty to the guy? All right, hold that thought. I just want to fact check something real quick. Oh, Lord. So he actually was a part of the championship team in 2021. Believe it or not, we got him from the Brewers. I thought so. I wanted to confirm it. He was not a starter, but he was on the team. He was a utility guy. And before you go knocking utility guys or fill-in guys or bench guys, whatever you want to call it, bench guys play a very important role, especially at that time. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was prior to the DH? Maybe not. But either way, they had a valuable role. And again, before you go knocking it, remember, I was there for, as Jesse Ventura would say, I was there for Eddie Rosario's homer, right? I know you all remember it. I got video of it, I believe, somewhere. Yeah, right here. I was here for this, all right? And this is Rosario facing Walker Buehler, who always seems to be on the bad end of Braves' success. But he smokes this homer here. This homer does not happen if the guy before him doesn't get on base. And the guy before him that got on base was A-Ray Adrianza, who's right there, who's at home plate. So before you go knocking, I'm just saying, Orlando might not have had a moment, but he was a part of that team, and that should not be taken away from him. That's my point of view. He got a ring. That's what matters. And in terms of why I defend him, it's not that I'm saying he's better than or he'll be better next year or whatever the case may be. I'm looking at this as a team perspective. And really, when you look at it, everybody didn't do well this year. And why is that? It's pretty simple. Half the team's gone. And how good are you going to be if half your team's gone? You have no protection in the lineup and that kind. I mean, how good are you really going to be? It just is what it is. That's how I view it. I understand that he's not your favorite. I get it. But I don't think the Braves are looking at it and going, well, yeah, he didn't have a great year this year, so we're going to just move on from him and forget about that another year and team option and all that. Forget about all of that. We're just going to move on from him, and we're going to go pay a guy $30 million. I don't see that happening. That's kind of my argument. They may move on from him, but I don't see them going to Willy Adames. I'd just be surprised. Let's see. John Surratt. Good old Johnny Surratt. Says, good season. I'm just glad it's over, and get ready to be healthy next year. Absolutely, John. Yeah, Spencer Schwellebach, huge bright spot. Might Be Genius. Says, making the All-Star game doesn't legitimize somebody. I believe it does, actually, because when they look at Hall of Fame cases, I think that's part of the resume that you fill out. Anytime I go to Baseball Reference, it's on their profile. So I definitely think it does legitimize somebody. It should, like, I will never be a guy who's going to take away an award. Okay, like, it's just not in me. Now, when they gave Bryce Harper, I think the DH. I was like, okay, well, what about like Marcel? Come on, are you kidding me? But I mean, I'm not one to go taking away awards. I'm not saying it's going to make him a Hall of Famer. I'm saying he you can't deny that he was really good there last year. You can't deny that. The guy was a star. He was on base a lot. Keep in mind of this, Dansby Swanson didn't get that award, and he was making far more money. Willy Adames didn't get that award, and he was making more money. So we can all sit here and criticize. We can all do that. But a lot of guys are making far more money than Orlando, and a lot of times not putting up as good of a performance. So I just don't, that's not where I'm at. I think Orlando will be back next year. I think he will have a much better year because he will be hopefully surrounded by healthy team members throughout the lineup and will be back to somewhat normalcy. But that's how I view it. I just don't see the Braves going and spending a ton of money on a guy who is not going to give you that much more than what your current product is, who's making substantially less. That doesn't make sense economically. It doesn't make sense fiscally. It doesn't make sense realistically. It doesn't make sense at all to me. I just don't see it happening. The critical thinker. We need some critical thinking up in here, so I'm glad you're here. Says, shout out to Michael Harris. He silenced a lot of naysayers with this wild card performance. Yeah, let a naysayer know. Am I right? Michael Carey says, yeah, Arcia strives all right on striking out. We'll go into break. We'll be right back. We're going to continue in the comment section. Don't go anywhere. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Michael Carey, you got me. Congratulations.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here. Really do appreciate it. John Surratt says, here's a question for you, Tyler, and it's actually a good one. John Surratt has very rare good questions, but he's got a good one tonight. Here's a question for you, Tyler. If Acuña's injuries become a routine outcome, what should the Braves do with him? I think they've already become a routine outcome. This is the second ACL tear in 4 years. I think the Braves may already be looking to figure out, all right, how can we control this? And I've heard chatter about making him a DH. I don't know how quickly that'll happen. I definitely think it's in the future. I mean, like, look at, we've seen this happen before. We've seen players tear an ACL early. Chipper Jones, I believe, did it. Mickey Mantle did it. It happens, but it's rare that you see two. That's what kind of concerns me. I think he very well may be a DH just to limit the time in the field. I don't know if it'll happen this year just because you have a Soler in left field. You have Ozuna at DH. You don't want Ozuna in the field. I don't think it'll happen until Marcell Ozuna's time is up. And after that, I think you may see the Braves adjust and maybe not even remove completely from outfield, but definitely limit the time out there. That would be what I would guess. Oh, Paul, here we go. Excuses. Criticize for this team. We have been one and done for a couple of years. Now we got injuries. When other teams had injuries. Okay, Snit needs to go. And he didn't even have the decency of spelling Snit's name right. It's all right, Paul. I'm not mad at you. I don't think Snit needs to go, not until his contract is up, which is another year. I don't think he will go either. And really, when Snit goes, who do you want there? That's what I always like. Like, who out there is so much better than Brian Snitker? Because I'm going to tell you right now, the Braves are probably going to hire from within. And you may not like the choice there either. So I'm asking you, who do you want? I'm even going to go to the bottom of the comment section here. I want to know, who is it that we want? Tell me who it is. And I'm not being funny. Tell me who it is. Because I'm going to tell you, when I look at the current coaching staff, this is who you got. You got Kevin Seitzer. You got Walt Weiss, which would probably make the most sense. You got Rick Kranitz, who was absent for a lot of this year, but is still a viable part of this team. You have Matt Tuiasosopo. Other than that, I don't know who else you want. So for the Snit crew, that's what I would say is who do you want? The Braves historically have hired from within. Bobby Cox, probably being the main exception in recent history. He was brought in, but then he was brought right back. After him, of course, was Freddie Garcia, who was here for a couple of years. Then it was Snit. So they were all from within the organization. So you may have someone below the major league organization, but for right now, that's kind of who you got to choose from. And I don't know that really you're going to see much of a difference going from Snit to any of those guys. It's going to be the same exact situation. I don't think you're going to see a big drop off. I don't think you're going to see a big, something change. Like the team's successful every year. Like it's funny to me because everybody thinks this is like the worst thing that's ever happened to the Braves. A lot of folks forget so easily about the rebuild years. They forget so easily, historically speaking, the 70s and 80s weren't great to the Braves, outside of a few stars in a couple of years there. They just got done winning, what was it, 6 or 7 division titles? I forget. 2018 through 2023. So what is that? 5? Is that 6? What is that? So 5. I think it's 5. I don't know, 6, whatever. So they've had a long stretch of success, and they've had a World Series in that stretch, and a World Series that arguably they shouldn't have won on paper. I don't think they should not have won it on paper, and they did. And still, people question him. They question AA. It's not always going to work how you script it. It's not. And I don't see it. That's where I'm at with it. I don't see it. We're going to skip down a little bit. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. You guys are still here. Really appreciate that. You're following along. It's the end of the season for the Braves, but it's not the end of our coverage of the Major League Baseball season. It's not the end of what we do on a yearly basis. We got interviews coming up. We got all kinds of content coming up. We want you to hang around. Of course, we got off-season content. We're going to probably expand from covering just just the Atlanta Braves and kind of go to all of Major League Baseball for the offseason. We tend to do that. Like if there's a big deal, like when Shohei Ohtani signed the deal to the Dodgers last year, we got on here and talked about how stupid of a deal it was. We're probably going to do that again this year for somebody. We'll see. We'll pick and choose, but obviously less content because there's not games going on, but there is still stuff to talk about. So we'll get on here and do that. We would love you to follow along. So please do that. Make sure if you have not already before you get out of here. I know we got a lot of folks coming in from CeeLo's live stream. Really do appreciate him doing the lead in. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. We want to keep as many of you guys as we can. We want to mooch off CeeLo as much as we can. We really do appreciate him though. Scooter Puff says Ozzy walking off the first of the players-only booth games versus the Mets with his legendary bat flip will always be my favorite moments of all time. That was a good one. There's a few. 2019 had so many good moments. Riley's first homer, his first grand slam. B-Mac walking it off was good. My favorite moment all time is from when I was a kid. I was 12. I was 12 or 11 or 12 years old. Chipper Jones walking it off. That'll always. I wasn't there for it, but I watched it with my dad. That's one that kind of I was already liking baseball. That made me fall in love with it. But there's a lot of moments that I could point to. I was there. I was in the stadium for Acuña's grand slam, which that sticks out in my mind. I was there for 40-70. That sticks out in my mind. I was with my fiance. That was her first Braves game, and she got to see 40-70 at her first Braves game. I made sure to tell her this does not happen all the time, so you need to appreciate it. There's a lot of them out there. Let's see. We're going to skip down a little. Ron says, man, what a disappointing offensive season. I want to say injuries don't matter, but that's very difficult to overcome. Yeah, they matter. I don't care what anybody says. They matter. They mattered in 21. We just overcame it. Or the Braves just overcame it. It's so easy for people who watch on TV, and I mean it with all due respect. I'm one of you. I get it. I've seen it, but it's so easy for us to look at it and go, that guy should be better, right there. That guy right there who just struck out for the second time today, yeah, that guy needs to go. And it's like, yeah, but why did that happen, right? I just tend to try to take a breath and look at stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I know Mass Boost. I know he was. I know Bobby Cox was in the organization prior. He was in the office, and then he was a manager, and then they fired him, and then they brought him back. So Ted Turner for you. Billy Power Max has a interesting take. Out of all of the great Braves, I'll take Justice at the plate for a big hit over any Brave. Justice over Hank Aaron? Over Eddie Matthews? Over Chipper? Over... I mean, that's an interesting take. Maybe that, maybe in his prime. I don't hate it. I mean, but you're talking about Hall of Famers. I mean, even Fred McGriff. I don't know. I don't know about that one. I would probably take Hank, to be honest with you. I think he probably hit a little bit more consistently. Let's see. Let's see. A lot of folks in here tonight. We really appreciate you being here. I think we're coming down to the end. Oh, it's 10 o'clock on the West Coast. That means I need to go for another 3 hours. Is that what you're saying, Rick? I don't think so, buddy. Bo Jack, 2020. Are you related to Bo Jackson? He says the Braves hitters are trying for home runs too much. They got to try for more base hits. I don't think it was trying for anything other than making contact in game one here. I mean, Michael King was dealing. Travis d'Arnaud, God bless him, swung at I'll never forget it, I don't think. I mean, a slider that far out of the zone. Just, you could argue trying to do too much, but that doesn't always mean trying to hit a homer. I think it's just trying to drive the ball. And every hitter in today's game, every hitter in today's game, swings like this. You rarely ever see choking up on the bat. It's always down here, and it's always launching the ball, going through. It's very rarely just to make contact and get on base. I saw, they were looking to drive the ball, and there's nothing wrong with that. I get what you're saying, but that's kind of where the game is today. Billy Power Max has said, I screwed up my sentence. I've been drinking. I feel like a few of you guys have been drinking tonight. I'll tell you a Justice story since we brought up Dave Justice and everybody in the chat wants to talk about Dave Justice. When I was about 13 or 14, do you guys remember the alumni days? They still do them. But back then, a lot of the guys were still coming, like the Chippers and Maddoxes and Smoltzes were still relatively accessible. Now they're hard to get to. But back then, they would come and they would sign at tables around the stadium. It was always around my birthday. My birthday is July 27th. And always around my birthday this would happen. And we'd always go every year. That's why I have all these. I mean, I have a ton because of that. And literally, we walk up to a table. Where's that ball at? It's up there somewhere. I have a Dave Justice ball up there. And I got it signed. I'm going to tell you the story behind it. We walk up to the table. And there's about 4 or 5 guys. Of course, they always put kind of the lower tier players, next to a bigger name. And I get whatever I want from them, and I go to Justice, and these girls walk by, and they go, "Oh, there he is! There he is! There he is!" And we're currently getting a ball signed by Justice, and my dad, who has no filter, goes, "You probably get that all the time, don't you?" And Justice goes, "Yeah, I do. And he goes, "Yeah, me too." That made Justice just bust out laughing. He thought that was so funny. The ultimate dad joke got Dave Justice laughing, and I'll never forget that moment. That's my one and only Dave Justice story. Justice, if you're out there, I'd love to interview you in depth. We can talk about that. But yeah, so that's my Dave Justice story. But yeah, what a player he was. I mean, he had the one and only run in, I guess, Game 6 of the '95 series after so much had been said about him in the coming days. We're going to answer a couple more questions, and we're getting out of here. So if you have not gotten your question in, put it in, and that'll be it. Remember, like the video. A lot of you guys still watching, you haven't liked the video. What's up with that? Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Riker says, we need a manager that can bring some energy when the team is flat. A manager willing to argue calls and have his players back. Snit brings none of that. None of that. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I went to a lot of Braves games growing up. I never once saw Bobby Cox get ejected, okay? He had 161 of them. Never saw it. Not once. He had the most in history. I never saw it. That's not to say he didn't do it. I just never saw it. That said, I have seen Snitker ejected 3 times while being at the ballpark for defending his players. Did we not remember the Jose Urena incident? Right? Do you remember that? Snit got ejected because he cussed him out at the plate. Do you not remember that? He has their backs. I'm not even going to entertain that. He definitely has his back. And he has his players' backs. And a lot of times he has his back quietly, watching guys, in their pitch count, making sure they're healthy. Glenn Hubbard told a great story. Snit was managing in the minors. Glenn was coaching with him. And they were on the cusp of winning a championship down in, I guess it was AA. And he tells the story. He's like, look, here I am. I want this kid to finish this inning because, we're on the cusp of winning a championship. And Snit had the wherewithal to realize, well, that's not the biggest thing here. This kid's going to have a great career. He's going to move on. And he's going to, the minor league championship is secondary to what this kid may do later in life. And that's, keep in mind, he's talking about earning money in the majors. He's talking about having just a career in the majors. And he's talking about his overall health. And Hubbard said, I realized right then. And Glenn Hubbard, second baseman for the Braves in the 80s, longtime coach, friend of the channel. We've interviewed him a few times. He just kind of realized, like, man, this guy, he's thinking levels above me. So don't tell me that Snit doesn't have the players' backs. I don't want to hear that. He's been ejected, I swear to you, 3 times in his career with me in the ballpark. I've seen it a lot. And he definitely has his backs. The problem is you're probably more familiar with the Bobby Cox years. The Bobby Cox years didn't have automatic replay. And nobody's ever going to break the Bobby Cox record except maybe Aaron Boone. He's the only one that has a chance because he gets ejected at the drop of a hat too. But nobody's going to break that record because there's automatic replay. There's a lot less to argue about. You can argue about balls and strikes, but even Major League Baseball, even the umpires have kind of gotten better about that. Rarely do you see an egregious game called, especially now that Angel Hernandez is out. And as soon as CB Buckner gets out, it'll be even less. So it's just a rarity in the game now. And that's just how it's evolved. But in terms of does Snit have their backs, all you got to do is go watch the Jose Urena incident and look at how, frankly, PO'd Brian Snitker looked in that clip. I'm not even going to entertain that he had to have their backs. Let's see. Halle Berry's coming up in the chat tonight. Not on my bingo card. Let's see. Billy Power Max tells a justice story. He's great about signing stuff for fans. Went to South Georgia and played baseball with the kids during the flood of '94 in Albany, Georgia. Yeah, I mean, he's out in L.A. now, I want to say. Some kid did an interview with him touring his house, and boy, oh boy, that thing could have been on MTV Cribs. It was nice. I'll just say that. If I could ever get a tour, Dave, I'll back the flight. I'll even pay for the tickets. So yeah. Mass Boost says, heck, Snitker got tossed arguing balls and strikes like a month ago for Soler. Yeah, how many ejections does Snitker have as a manager? Snitker ejections. August 7th he got ejected. Why was he ejected? Because Soler balls and strikes. There you go. So he's been ejected plenty. I don't know where that came from. I feel like you got 18 times. Thank you, 18 times in 9 seasons. So I'm gonna go with he has his players' backs. Who wrote that down? Riker. I disagree, buddy. I disagree. And again, 18 times in 9 seasons. For perspective, Bobby Cox managed, 20-something years? He got ejected 162. Again, Bobby Cox didn't have automatic replay. And Bobby Cox got ejected when he knew he was wrong a lot of the time, just to get his players fired up. It was a different game, and Bobby was a different type of manager. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. Justice and Gant were clutch hitters for that Braves team. Yeah, 91, yeah, absolutely. Joey Fox says, I can't say anything bad about Snit. I like his calm demeanor, and he can get fiery when he needs to. That's what I like about him. And that takes us to the bottom of our comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Hold on. We got more comments. These are the last ones tonight. Miguel. You never fail me, Miguel. Quote, there was a reason that Snitker spent 40 years in the minor leagues. I'm going to give you that reason. I got a few reasons. Number 1, Bobby Cox. That's number 1. Bobby Cox was there for a very long time. Number 2, the only reason he didn't get the job over Freddie was because Freddie was at the major league level already. He was a part of Bobby Cox's staff. He was basically handed it over, and it just worked out that way. Snitker came in, did a great job. I want to say it was 2016, and it's been running smooth ever since. So what's the problem? In terms of why he was there for 40 years, because he was dang good at it. There's a lot of guys who don't last in baseball, period, for 40 years. That's what I would say. Might Be Genius says, you know who is forgotten and underrated? Leo expletive, Mazzoni. Yeah, you probably typed it and you couldn't do it because I have all those words blocked. I got very creative. You can't, I don't think you can type a cuss word. Leo Mazzoni is a friend of mine, actually. I interviewed him at his house a couple of years ago, and Mass Boost is getting at you, Miguel. I interviewed Leo at his house a few years ago. Spent, I think, an hour talking to him. You talk about a good guy. I asked him, he barely knew me. I said, hey man, I'm gonna do this quick 5-minute interview, but I'd really like to do this long form style interview. He's like, come to the house. We'll do it at the house. Okay. So there I went and drove up to South Carolina. He has a beautiful home. Him and his wife were very welcoming to me. And you talk about an encyclopedia. That guy could be a pitching coach right now. And, he knows everything. I mean, when it comes to that. And keeping pitchers healthy, baseball could learn a few lessons from Leo Mazzoni. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up, guys. Again, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. While you're here, again, before you get out of here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. You've hung with me till 1:16 in the morning. You can like the video. Do that for me, would you? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, again, so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck with the Atlanta Braves, with Major League Baseball, with sports in general. We'll be here. And again, if you haven't, go check out the videos on the channel. The Pete Rose interview yesterday with Daryl Cheney's great. You can see all the postseason interviews from the champagne party. All that's on the channel too. The interview with Leo Mazzoni, we've been talking about it for 5 minutes. Go watch it. It's an hour long. It'll put you to sleep. Maybe, I don't know, maybe wake you back up. I don't know. But go check it out. The content is great. And guys, I can't thank you enough for being here till 1:16 in the morning. You're talking to me. You're giving a beer to me. You're saying thank you to me. Thank you. You hung out with us. You made this great. All season long, you guys have been great during these live streams. I really do appreciate it. We're not done, though. The Braves are out. We're not out. We're going to be covering Major League Baseball throughout the offseason. We want you to be a part of it. The only way you can be a part of it is by subscribing. That is the best way you can do it. The other thing I got to do, I got to pay the bills. So if you would, please do go check out my friends at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika, Alabama. They have been a great partner for us this season. The first season they've been partners with us. They have been phenomenal. Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile. If you need a new vehicle, you've been seeing the ads, you've been hearing what they got, go give them a look. They're honest, good people. They want the best car for you, and they will make sure you do it at the most affordable rate possible. Guys, with that out of the way, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Tyler Redmond is a GOAT. Never thought I was going to see that in the comment section. Appreciate it. Might be genius. Really do appreciate you. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support. Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support. Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.
This video is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, here we are. We were all wondering, is it going to happen? Will the Braves make it to the playoffs? And it all comes down to this series with the Mets. And of course, game one, the Braves had their chances. They could have won. The Mets ultimately win on a Francisco Lindor two-run homer in the ninth inning. And of course, that was 8-7 New York. But then it goes to game 2. We all thought Chris Sale was going to pitch game 2. 30 minutes prior, it's decided that Grant Holmes would be the starter because Chris Sale would be out due to back spasms. But Grant Holmes was able to pitch 4 shutout innings, handed off to the pen. The Braves able to win in a shutout in their final game of the year, the final game of all of Major League Baseball for 2024 in the regular season. Of course, now we turn the page. It's time for October baseball, and the Braves have a date with the Padres tomorrow night at 8:38 p.m. Eastern. Of course, we don't know who will be starting for the Braves. One thing we do know is that they have a spot. They have a chance at possibly, maybe just maybe, winning a World Series. Spencer, first off, great performance today to be called upon that. Great Game 1 appearance. Just talk to me about that game and preparation for it, just how you felt and how you felt with the result.
Yeah, I was facing the same team 6 days later. It was kind of the same thing. We know the guys. Travis knows the guys. Just followed his game plan and went to work. Got through 7 and thought I did a good job.
Absolutely. And, of course, wasn't able to come out with the win there. But game 2, you're able to come out with a win. We're in a champagne shower right now. How does that feel right now?
Oh, it feels awesome. I'm really glad that we got to win the second one and move on to the playoffs. And we're really excited to get out to San Diego.
And, of course, rookie season, playoff berth. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it's happened to you. How confident are you in this team headed out to San Diego?
I mean, we've come through a lot of adversity. This team has a lot of really good players, really good teammates, and we're ready for anything that comes our way.
And starting this season as a rookie, you've had a great start to your career. Be able to finish it again with a playoff berth. What does that say about your performance and just your dedication to this team?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of help up here. Great pitching staff who's been really helpful, great coaches who anything I need, they're there for me, and it's made it really easy for me to just go out and pitch and be successful.
I'm going to ask you one last question. How does that champagne feel?
Oh, it feels awesome. It feels awesome.
30 minutes before the game, you find out you're starting game 2. Talk to me about that and just how, I mean, you pitched 4 scoreless innings. Talk to me about the preparation and just the fact that you were able to do that.
You know, there wasn't much preparation. I had threw before the first game, so I just went out there in the bullpen and acted like it was a outing out of the bullpen.
Absolutely, and the fact that you guys have been able to do this and make the playoffs with all the ups and downs, what does it say about this team?
You know, it's a great group of guys. You know, we don't ever give up, and we're hungry for that World Series. So thankful for this opportunity.
And you guys are headed to San Diego. How are you feeling about this team's chances going there?
Great. You know, after coming off of this, after the past few days, actually the past week, you know, I think we're going to do pretty well.
What does it mean to finish it off with a postseason berth?
It's huge. It's what everybody strives for when you sign up to play this game, and it wasn't easy. You know, we had hit a lot of bumps in the road. I was only here for, I guess, half of the bumps, but it was a bumpy ride for the time I was here, and I couldn't be more excited to move on with this group of guys. We seem to have our backs against the wall, but this is kind of when we thrive. So we're looking forward to getting to San Diego.
Yeah, you mentioned backs against the wall, 3 games in San Diego. How are you feeling going into that? I know you're celebrating tonight, but how are you feeling going into that?
Feeling good. I mean, you know, coming off a win to get into the playoffs, that's good momentum. And you get in the postseason, man, you never know what can happen. So we're going to go, and we got a good group of guys here that love to play and love to play together, and we're going to do what we can to find a way to win, and see what happens.
What makes this team different?
I mean, we've been through a lot. Like I said, I've only been here for half the time, and I still feel like I've been too worn back with these guys. So battle tested at this point. I mean, there's nothing that can get thrown at us that we haven't that we haven't seen. So we're battle tested. I don't know if anybody's as battle tested as we are. So bring on October.
You guys are headed to the playoffs. How does that feel?
It feels a little relief in a way, but knowing that, you know, we got to keep it going and be ready for tomorrow.
Absolutely. And you came to this team later in the year. You didn't start the season with the Braves. What has clicked for you here in Atlanta?
I think just I always like Atlanta from afar. I think I just settled in great, and, you know, I know a bunch of guys here, so I felt pretty comfortable, and I'm just happy for the chance, and you know, keep it going. playoff time. So
Big home run today in Game 1. Talk to me about that at bat.
nothing. Just try to keep up the middle of the field and be ready for a fastball. And I hit a slider, and yeah.
One last question for you. How does that champagne feel?
Really cold. I haven't had one in like in a few years, so this one is pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you got another one here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Austin, first off, you guys, through all the ups and downs, you've made it to the playoffs. What does it say about this team and just the grit to do that?
They just we don't give up. I mean, just I feel like we've been battling an uphill battle this whole year, just with injuries and everything. Things haven't gone our way, and we continue to fight. And I think that shows a lot about this group and what they're capable of. And anything can happen in the postseason. You just got to get your foot in the door. We've done that, so I'm looking forward to this next ride.
What a pitching performance today by both Schwellenbach and Grant Holmes. If you could just talk about that.
No doubt. I mean, our pitching has been just top tier this whole year, and they continue to do that. And just unbelievable. The first game didn't go the way we wanted, but we're in. That's all that matters. So just going to enjoy it.
If there's any doubters out there, what would you say to them?
I just say the game of baseball is crazy. Anything can happen, and when you got a good group of guys like we do in the clubhouse that care about each other, that believe in each other, persevere, that's what it's all about. So don't count us out.
You guys are headed to the playoffs. How do you feel?
Feel good. You can't be mad about going to the playoffs. It's just all you gotta do is get in, and I guess after that, you control everything else.
Obviously, a little bit of a surprise today seeing Grant Holmes take the mound. If you could just talk about his performance and how much that meant for the team.
That was huge. I guess I don't know when he knew he was going to go in, but he took the ball and he did what he needed with it, and so did everybody else that came in as well. So all year our pitchers have been phenomenal. We just had to help them out. I'm glad we were able to put up some runs late, and I guess they were able to close it out.
Yeah, big win today, but of course you get on a plane tonight. You're headed to San Diego. How are you feeling about the next series, and how confident are you in this team?
I think we're feeling good. Just got to get some rest. We used, I guess, a good amount of players today, so just getting some rest and I guess just go battle.
Obviously, there's a lot of excitement, but how proud are you of this team?
So proud of this team. I guess everything we've been through with the injuries and everything else, we still fought through, and it was like next man up. Everybody just fought and stepped up in the right time, and I guess got us to where we are now.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.